Hi guys, it's Rosy, former 11th violinist from last season. Disclaimer before we get into the video, this guide has a lot of information and it's just stuff that I've learned as a hunter over time. I am sorry if this is way too much information, but please stick with me throughout the video if you're okay with it. Now, let's get started. Some minor warnings when playing Vio is that you can get heavily punished for bad lines because the line hitbox is very small. Something else that with Vio is that he's not as easy to pick up compared to other hunters like Blood Queen and Ripper. Those hunters are really good, don't get me wrong, they're still in some skill set, but just maybe not as difficult. One final thing with Vio is that you can easily get frustrated if you don't have the patience when learning with him. If you don't have patience or if you have one of these things, I recommend you do not play Vio and just find a hunter you have passion for. Some early chase and fundamentals for Vio is that one heavy thing is you want to do is predict your opponent's kiting routes. If you don't predict your opponent's kiting routes, it'll be very difficult to hit your lines because it will be the most unexpected moment. Something that can help you with this a lot is you go on YouTube and learn the most common kiting routes or just learn how a survivor kites in general in certain situations. And here are some examples that I predicted my opponent's kiting routes with a line. I don't know. Reeee!
Kite a hunter a little bit.
Fuck. Can we make that? Holy
Yeah.
crap, you legend.
Oh, that wasn't intended. That was unintentional.
I hope you can play for a bit, no?
Really fast.
Yeah, no kidding.
Imagine hunters hugging walls to
Oh, I got
counter
him. Alright, we're good. I got him one hit. I just need to get blink up. But he freaking charged so many owls, how can I do this? And he already has the owl back. No, don't go back in the hospital, no! Sir, stop!
Don't get terror shocked. Don't get terror shocked.
Merc. Nice.
Yes.
Good save. That's okay that you get harmed.
Nice.
Merc can go for another save.
Hey,
or
no
save.
owl, no problem. String saves the day. It's illegal! Okay, maybe
Oh.
it's illegal.
Tree ultimate body block.
I think I'm gonna use my string instead of...
Nice.
For some fundamentals when working with Vio, when you know for sure that they will go through a pallet or window, you can place a note in front of them and immediately put the line down to hit them. I can show a clip in the next bit, but something on the other hand, when you're trying to predict their routes, depending on their tier, it becomes more difficult since they will know how to counter you, particularly Vio. Why did I say that? Anyway. The strategy of putting the line immediately down doesn't always work for some of the survivors, especially at the higher tiers, since they will be more patient and not walk through their routes immediately. Instead, they go to the side or wait it out. I will show that in a bit after I finish talking. Okay.
You used to pass on SMH.
What? You are a cowboy. You have a phenomenal pass on me, and you say you want to pass on.
Cowboy didn't want to freaking recover fast enough, okay?
That sounds like a you problem.
Yes.
You didn't stun it in time. Oh, okay.
Let's go.
I couldn't find any words to say that.
It's tied, okay? Senior one is an owl that like Saf hit hit Cowboy before the owl.
Oh no.
Toxin, can you go say
Senior race get the fucking owl. That was so fucking beautiful.
Orange owl. Oh god.
My lord. I was trying so hard to juke that bitch and she turned on it for me to instead.
I can't
See,
finish
I'm
your
not
save.
complaining about it. I'm not complaining about it. I don't feel bad because it's sad. That was so unfortunate.
It's okay. I want to try to target me.
I know, but
Toxin,
I feel real
let me try to
bad.
lasso Mika after you save.
Went too far.
I felt that.
Oh, my child.
No right?
Why?
No right?
I love this fucking place.
Child.
I did too.
Where's Meep?
I have no idea.
Yeah, bud.
Oh.
Sap, if you drag him here, like,
So, a way to counter the survivors that walk to the side of your line when you try to put it down immediately, instead of instantly putting down your line, you can hold out the second note and try to force the survivor either back into you so you can hit them normally, or you could just get a straight up hit on them when they're trying to walk their kiting route, as shown in the clip.
You can tell, don't worry.
Don't, you're just having a timeout. It's okay.
He threw his umbrella on my face. Aggressively
Okay,
swings at
okay,
the air.
Lucian.
Okay.
And now we go over here to the corner.
Yes, please.
So, over time, once you get the fundamentals down, once your first ability is available, there are quite a few ways to use it. One way that you could use it, this is mainly for your early chase, is you can stack them onto survivors and slow them down, so it becomes easier to chase them. However, this will be still very much difficult on areas or maps like Red Church because there are a lot of pallets and there's a lot of walls. The second way to use the first ability is when a survivor is on the chair and you're camping them. You can look for moving ciphers and send a bunch of notes onto those ciphers. And something is also great is that you spread them out throughout the ciphers. Don't just do one, or else it kind of ruins the whole point of slowing the decoding. Because nowadays VC is powerful and people tell each other like, hey, the notes are going to fly this way, you should probably move off your cipher. And the third way to use it is, well, it's more like a little extra information. You can walk through pallets easier, or you don't have to worry about the hit or attack miss delay. I can show it in a bit once I explain all of this. I think that's it. Yeah. Okay. Oh, that just missed. Especially block off this window. Go. Situation, but not completely lost situation.
I think you're in a very good situation. What do you mean?
Yeah, though this is my second share though, because I lost the first officer before.
Yeah, I see you lost first officer, but you're still fine.
Oh yeah, only one can rescue. For camping strategies for Vio, the one thing I would like to point out is that Vio is very strong when you put the survivor on an open chair particularly. Something like the Red Church chair, towards red carpet, or maybe towards the window outside a Red Church. Similar chairs like that. Why I say this is because once he gets full presence, he becomes really powerful. If you're able to get him on an open chair, you can use his max range string to its full potential, instead of having the walls kind of block you off and you can't really cover as much area or ground with the full presence to get the rescuer and the person that came from the chair. After all of this, I'll go into certain strategies like early camping before full presence camping, and basement camping. So for early camping before full presence, this mainly applies for the first and second chair. The reason I bring Max Control Freak on all my builds is because it has come in clutch game changers, and what I'm about to say kind of explains, kind of correlating to my playstyle and what it helps me out with. One, it pressures rescuers to rescue early, or sometimes they don't realize that the countdown timer is much faster than normal, leaving the rescue is after half, so the person will be dead on chair. Number two, even if the rescuer is on time, you can scare them with the line, or they wait a little too long and panic, rescuing 2 seconds over half. If you're lucky enough, you can get a terror shock in, or a hit that delays the rescue to just after half. Number three is at higher tiers, the ones listed above happen sometimes but not all the times, but at lower tiers this can be very useful. And I'll show some clips for this, and then I'll go into before full presence camping outside a basement.
True.
Like, it is probably Zekiyogan, but it's a possibility that it's not.
Does Magnus even play this session?
No.
I don't even know.
I don't know. I don't know if he plays this session.
Anyways, thank you for hosting.
Yeah, I just needed to give it to you because I didn't have any good letters. Like I know Tay wants.
Okay. What the fuck? I'm so sorry. It's been too long.
You like that? Huh?
I am so sorry. It's been a fat year.
You didn't even start this game a year ago.
Listen, I'm trash, okay? I've accepted it.
No, you'll become an S tier merc, right? Yeah.
Due to my slow vault, it's as useless as my bot on 1%.
Okay, if you're bot on 1%, if it's not out already, you can spawn it out of
Let me draw that.
I just don't get the flavor of that stuff and do that.
No, right.
I'm never gonna be able to play post it.
So for full presence, specifically outside a basement versus rescuers without a gun, merc, gravekeeper, etc., your main goal is to force the rescues after half. Depending on the situation, due to control freak, some people don't realize how quickly the countdown timer is, and the rescues become after half. Although, this is rare for smaller maps such as Arms Factory, Red Church, and more. Say someone is on a chair right now and a rescuer is coming in for the rescue. If the line is close to or before half, hold the line at max range or shorter to your preference. You want to try to scare the rescuer to the point that it'll be just after half. It's almost a judgment to when to put the line down to push them off the chair, but if you get the timing just right, most likely the rescue will be just after half. However, these can be rare occasions that you scare them into a panic rescue and get a terror shock. At higher tiers it's a lot harder to pull off, but usually at lower tiers it should be okay. Since also at higher tiers they will know you're most likely going to go for a terror shock. If it's so close to half, just a heads up that they will probably try to fake the rescue in the first attempt, then rescue once you either hit the chair or you hit them instead. Say you have a rescuer that is a stunner, like a cord. If they are coming for first rescue, you have to be careful with two types of cords. There are cords that shoot you beforehand to go for a guaranteed rescue, or the most common scenario that I've seen, at least from my hunter experience, is that the cord that won't shoot till after the rescue. Once they rescue the person that's from chair, they will shoot you and buy time for the person to kite and run away from you. For me, I usually know what type of cord they are because I have faced them before, but if you haven't seen them, then there are some ways to tell of which type they are. If you see a cord that's coming in more of the direction when you're in open space, they're most likely coming to shoot you beforehand to get the rescue off. the other version, which is the one that shoots you right as the rescue is done, they will most likely just normally go to the chair and look at what you're doing if you're trying to terror shock or try to force them to save after half. This type will most definitely shoot you after the rescue has been pulled off. This chord will be most likely seen at higher tiers. I'm not too sure at lower tiers. And then some ideas that I've come up with to counter these chords. I've only come up with one counter for the first type, which is the one that shoots you beforehand. The type 1 chord that you can counter them is by hiding behind trees or go to walls quickly behind them. At just enough distance to hit the chair still. I can show a clip in a little bit. However, this also kind of depends on where you place the survivor. Remember how I mentioned that it's kind of good to put them in open chairs? Because Vio's very powerful. But say you're in a sticky situation and you can't put one on Leo's memory, say you're hiding behind a tree. And if you put them on a container's chair, you could just hide behind the tree, wait for the cord to shoot, and then you could go for the hit. For type 2 chord, there has not really been a counter because there's really nothing you can do to a chord that shoots you right after they rescue. Unless you bring excitement, but ideally I do not recommend you bringing excitement for a chord if it's just a lonely chord with one flare gun shot. Because once the gun is over, the chord pretty much becomes useless.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I know this person.
Actually, his name, if you will read this name, it's like with BPO. BPO, if you're Russian, you can see it as bro.
Oh, BPO
Joker, if you're Russian, you can see it as a cartoon name, Lasyash. Lol.
Lasyash.
Lasyash. Lasyash.
Is he with someone?
Yep.
Okay.
Nice. Oh my god, yes, Tertian, let's go!
Just decode it with me.
I know, I'm going to the cipher, brother. Okay, I'm going. Basement is somewhere, back gates or graveyard, one of these spawns.
Okay, got it. I will take the hit with the shovel.
He's very fast now. I think he's possible.
No, I know. Like his new movement speed plus hunt makes him super fast. Like you really cannot risk terror shot.
Gerard, you need to leave because the Phantom's gonna break that fucking pallet.
So, say you're in a situation that a Gravekeeper is coming in for the first rescue. If there's no merc, most likely it's a double rescue team. The Gravekeeper could go for the first rescue. They will most likely come in with a shovel. When they arrive, most of them will just wait for you to hit them, but to counter this, you could just wait out the chair countdown timer as it goes on. It's good for you to be patient, since if they wait too long, they will farm the survivor on chair. What I mean is the rescue will be after half and pretty much guaranteeing a person dead on chair. Something that I've noticed that higher tier Gravekeepers do is that if they notice that you are waiting out the timer, they will pop up early. However, don't hit them immediately because some of them do try to bait you to hit the chair. You can fake swing and then go for a hit that you think will Terror Shock or just hit them normally.
I'm so sorry. It's been too long.
You like that, huh?
I am so sorry. It's been a fat year.
You didn't even start this game a year ago.
I'm trash, okay? I've accepted it.
No, you'll become an S tier merc, right?
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Work is not my calling, really.
So for the methods that I just talked about above, they apply for situations outside of basement. But let's say you do get someone in basement. What strategies work then? Remember who you are going against. Do you have a Priestess? Do you have a Merc? Or do you have a Gravekeeper? Who is on the other side? Say you have a Priestess and a Merc on a team, someone who is on a basement chair. Before even mentioning how to counter, here are some fundamentals as a high tier at the high tiers. If there is a Priestess on the team, they are most likely going for the first basement save. Why? Because they have a portal that can easily transport the survivor to the top, avoiding the basement no attack recovery trick. I can show a clip in a bit after I explain the rest of this. Also, so far, most of the presets that I have faced personally, I'm not too sure if this applies to everyone, but they have brought 36. What that means is borrowed time and tide turner. This buys time for both the rescuer and the survivor on the chair to get out for a while, at least outside a basement, so their game doesn't get completely screwed over, since basement is a very strong camping area that can change games. So when I know a priestess, I just said so twice, oh my god. When I know a priestess is coming for the first rescue, something I like to do depending on the map, shack basement on arms, red church. Some people don't notice the map, but I often put survivors farthest away from the window on the second level, or the ground level, for both shack basements. So they would be put on the first chair farthest away from the window, allowing minimum distance they can get through the portal. Even though most priestess put the portals outside of shack, but I still do it just in case. Instead of doing the usual waiting at the top and do the basement no attack recovery trick, when I see a priestess on the team, I would just wait at the same basement level and just casually wait with my line until they portal down and hopefully scare her into saving half, allowing the person to be dead on chair, or if I'm lucky enough and she's one of those priestess that portals literally directly above the chair and goes for the immediate rescue, I can get a line hit on them and stuff them right there and then there'll be 2 people in basement.
Oh, basement.
Let's get out of here.
Starting.
Okay.
Basement is on dungeon is on graveyard or back gates. Be ready. Alright.
You should be fine.
Yeah, it's a die. Rosy,
Yeah.
you made a die.
I can probably get a 3-man. Maybe.
Good job.
Maybe.
Rosy helping.
Nice. So this strategy with the Priestess is very similar when you see a Gravekeeper coming for the first basement rescue. Most Gravekeepers know the trick to the hole down into basement, but here's a reminder in case you didn't know. You can apply the same strategy to Priestess, to Gravekeeper, I meant to say, just this time you don't have to worry about them going back up since it's a one-way tunnel. There's no way for someone to magically go up through the skies in that one hole. They will have to walk up the stairs normally, so you can do the basement no attack recovery trick on them if you would like to. And then that should cover most of the camping tactics, at least the ones I used before full presence. If you have any different strategies you want to check out or learn what works for you, I recommend some channels, like Black, I can, and Kyocera They have some great content of top gameplays from high-level hunters, Chinese servers. I'm not sure about NAEU, but I'm pretty sure at least in Asia servers. You can go from there and learn from just in general what it takes, what the game senses of top-level hunters do at certain situations and different camping strategies. So now let's get into my favorite part of probably this whole talk is full present camping. Like I said earlier, Vio is very powerful on an open space chair because he can utilize his max range of the string, and it's mainly for this particular reason. So once I get full presence, I almost never put the string on the chair. Why? Because I feel that the max presence can already cover so much space. If you place it correctly from the line to the chair, you can almost get a guaranteed hit on a rescuer before the rescue and probably get a double hit. Or you can keep on scaring the rescuer to think you'll use your ability, but in reality you're waiting for them to rescue, then you immediately farm the survivor that was on the chair right as they get off. Potentially you can also double hit the rescuer, depending on how it goes. Sometimes the rescuers get out of it. And then also, before when I was still learning Vio, I used to place lines parallel to the chair. As time progressed, I kind of realized that both the rescuer and the person on chair sometimes just never get hit. So in order to somewhat counter this, I started actually placing lines diagonal to the chair, or kind of more of a sideways. So it makes it much more difficult to avoid the lines because the person is so focused on running in a straight line away from the chair, not sideways. They're most likely to get hit. And the rescuer too. The main key to getting the hits off is to be patient, because at higher tiers, I don't know if this applies to lower tiers, but you have to wait. I usually just wait till the rescue is done, or they are in the process of rescuing and I set the strings off, because at higher tiers the way they counter it is pretty smart. They run into the first pre-line that has no damage anymore, and then they try to run to the sides of the string to bait it out, the ability. If you aren't patient enough, you will accidentally use your ability, losing the whole damage output, and more probably not be able to chair the person again. Something I've noticed higher tiers haven't been able to figure out is when to go in for the save when I have full presence. Usually the best time would be when I lose the string, since it takes about 2 seconds to put it back down, and with Vio's nerf coming in that I heard just recently, by the time this guide is probably out, that the animation when he puts the line down will be longer. So you'll probably have, the people will have maybe 3 seconds before you can put the line down again. If you're trying to rescue if a survivor is trying to rescue from full presence, something you could do is try to bait out the ability or go in when the line is gone. I'm not too sure how else survivors can counter this method since it's very difficult. Usually the best way is never letting Vio get full presence, which personally has happened to me in the past. Oh, this is after half though, I like...
Oh, she's not rescuing, okay.
Wait, how did that... Okay. We don't talk about it. It's primed. Cypher's primed. So here are some random potential counters I've came up with before full presence. and 2 full presents for Vio. I'm just handing this out because I like to help people. So say you were on a chair as a survivor, but you got rescued off, and Vio is about to use his full presence. I don't know if this will work, since Vio could be literally in your face, and then also you kind of need to have VC with this when you're with your teammates, but if you're the survivor that came from the chair, maybe try running into the first line, then run away. It's risky, but it may be better than you just running into the following lines that will do damage once the full presence is blown. Why I say it's probably best to have all your teammates on VC, because if you communicate to your team, like, hey, I'm gonna run into the first line where the Vio is literally is, could you body block for me from the normal hit? And if you guys are able to get that communication through, you'll most likely be able to save the person from the chair and then able to escape and buy some more time for your teams to decode. This is not tested to be proven, but I have heard from my friends that it kind of works sometimes, but you really have to have good teamwork and communication with your team. Another counter that I've heard for Vio, or kind of works just based off my experience that I've seen, say you were rescuing before full presence, and a Vio puts a line down on the string, or puts a line down for the chair. Depending on their timing, if they mess up the timing by a bit, you could just wait out for the line to be gone. Because in order for a second one to be placed, it must be placed within the first 5 or 7 seconds, or else the 7-second cooldown happens. If they never put the second line, you could just count the 5 seconds and use that 5 seconds to rescue the person from chair, and then proceed to get out of that area. And then I think that pretty much covers all the camping strategies, and then somewhat how to counter them based off all I can do, or based off what I just have right now. It may change in the future, I'm not too sure, but this is just what works for me. I hope it works for you as well. Alright, so now that we covered most of the stuff for Vio, most of you are probably asking what kind of builds to bring for him. And I have some decent amount of builds to give to you guys, or just what I've heard from in general, or based off over my career. So, I can just go from random ones. Here's one type of persona build. It has a no detention build. It's the most uncommon build that I've particularly not used a lot because I have 0 confidence in my hunter skills without detention, but I've seen Chinese players bring it, and it works for them. If it works for you, you can go for it. Why people bring this? Because some of them really see the use of Vio having either blink or peepers early game, and then switching to teleport for a good late game, so you could, or towards mid game, and then they could teleport to a cipher that's moving and pressure them off it. Why they go up with max pallet breaking speed and have control freak, mainly, I'm not too sure why, but I think from my experience, it's very nice to have Vio with max pallet breaking speed, since if you've seen his pallet breaking speed, it's very, very slow, and it's pretty cringy, to be honest. And I see Vio, if you don't have it, you can get kited really hard. Even if you have peepers, this build particularly relies you heavily hitting your lines. If you don't hit your lines well, it'll be bad. But that's if you didn't have max pellet breaking speed. I am getting my words confused. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Okay, anyway. On to the next one. I mean, technically this build does require you to land your lines, because if you don't, you're pretty much screwed if you don't get your early game wall. Anyway, the next build. This was a build I used very early in my Vio career. I was testing out everything I could to do something decent with him. It is Trump, Detention, and Max Control Freak. As I said earlier, it's just my personal preference that I like having Control Freak on pretty much most of my builds because I like to pressure survivors either to come rescue early or have the rescue just barely be on above half. However, the major downside to this is that you don't have pallet breaking speed, and it hurts when you don't have the pallet breaking speed because basically you're forcing yourself. You can't break pallets. You're gonna get kited. Your survivor's gonna get a lot of distance, and if you don't hit your lines, you're kind of screwed because that means the person can very much probably cut you over 60 seconds. And especially at this time, he's already been out for about 2 months or so, or more. People definitely know how to counter Vio at this point. You can bring this build if it works for you, if you like switching from Blink to Teleport or Peepers to Teleport for a better late game. But I'll get into more of a build that I personally use at the moment, and it has helped me out a lot. Here's the build that I use quite a lot. I use Confine Space and Detention. And then I put Max Control Freak, and then I put all the way up to Beserker, or I put the Panic, and I go into No Survivors. Why I bring this build particularly is because over time I've noticed it happens on majority of maps like Red Church, Arms Factory, Lakeside, probably Ever Sleeping as well. If I don't bring Confined Space, and if I don't bring max pallet breaking speed, I'm gonna get looped. And as a Vio, you really don't want to get looped early game because your early game is the most important. Because if you can get that full presence, the sooner you get it, the more powerful you'll become sooner. I'm sorry I'm saying that word so many times. Something that you can do to counter, this is kind of off topic, but something that you can do, why I mentioned that there's no survivors that I take away from Beserker sometimes, is I see a Cowboy and a forward. A Cowboy and a forward are probably a Vio's worst nightmare in my opinion. Besides, okay, the people that give Vio the most trouble is a Merc, a forward, a Cowboy, and a perfumer. Those characters counter Vio pretty hardcore, especially if there's a forward and a Cowboy duo. And why I say I bring no survivors is because what no survivors do, when there's a survivor in a radius, a specific radius among the down survivor, you get a really increased attack recovery cooldown. And most likely when a survivor goes down and they're on voice comms, they're like, hey forward, hey Cowboy, I kind of need you to help me here. They will probably most likely be there to harass you. If you do see them around, you could just leave the survivor on the floor and be like, oh, hey forward, hey Cowboy, I see you there. Let me just shoot my flying notes in your face and kind of just try to harass you. And what's nice about no survivors is that if you do get the hit off, you can quickly, your attack recovery is much quicker than usual, so you can quickly go back to the down survivor. Say the forward or the Cowboy has already used their ability, it'll be on cooldown, buying you enough time to get the survivor onto the chair. Or potentially just they won't get rescued. What I mean by they don't get rescued, they don't get stunned out and they're freed, or they don't get lassoed out and they're freed. I put more builds, but at the same time I realized they're kind of not needed. Oh, wait, no, there's one more build. There's one more build that I used a long time ago, but I don't use it as much now. Oh my god, sorry. I will cut that out. I need to cut that out from the video. Something you can do is Beserker in Wanted Order. And then you put in Trump in Detention. This has been more of the meta build at the moment for the top 10 violinists. So far this has worked for a lot of people because it really just depends on your playstyle. When Heathery interviewed iAlien, I do remember him mentioning why he brings at least Beserker and Trump in Detention in his build. Or I think he brings Max Beserker and then Trump Detention. He likes to harass survivors on the ciphers. He likes to push them off. So he doesn't like to camp the chair as much and just go and harass people off their ciphers. This probably works depending on your playstyle, but it can be really much of a hassle depending on what map it is. Personally, this is not my kind of playstyle, but if it works for you, go for it. Whatever works for you is the best persona. So, let's say you got a survivor down really early, but you see a forward or a cowboy next to you. Your no survivor goes off ping. What can you do? Well, it really depends on the situation. If you're in an open area, if you're against a forward, that's a good thing, because they would either, if you're not close enough to a wall, they cannot get the stun off. So you're pretty much free to pick up the survivor, and if they are one of those forwards that decide to noom into you, you can most likely get a free hit on them. But let's say you're not in a very nice situation, and you're literally right next to a wall because they voice commed like, hey, I'm dying next to a wall, please help me. Well, some things you can do. If you didn't use your blink, you can blink over the wall if it's close to a rocket chair, and then try to get the survivor on the chair before the forward comes to stun you. If you're not so fortunate and you don't have your blink, something you can do, thanks to no survivors around, you can use your first ability, swing the notes at the forward. Either you get a hit on them, or once they use their football to try to get away, you immediately go straight back to the survivor and chair them. If you don't go within that time frame, the 5-second cooldown will be up and they'll try to stun you again. And this also kind of depends on your distance from the forward. If the forward's relatively close, you're gonna have to harass him quite a lot and get him away. If he's not that close, then you should be able to pick up and then drop in time, so he'll have to go in a 5-second cooldown, pick up, then put him on the chair. This kind of really depends on your experience level, since a lot of this is like instinct and you need to know like right at that moment. Though I'm just telling you a little bit of what I've learned personally over time, and I hope it helps. Okay, here's the other situation. Say there's a cowboy around you, and he's getting his lasso ready. Depending on his distance, you can probably tell if it'll be either an instant lasso or an auto-lock lasso. What the difference is that an instant lasso, even if you pick up, you won't be able to drop in time. And then an auto-lock lasso will be when you're going to the chair, and then he waits 3 seconds, he gets the auto-lock aim, and he gets the rescue off. If you're in that situation, you can do similar things like you do with a forward. You can send flying notes in the cowboy's direction, either hope that he uses his lasso either to lasso a pallet, or you just get a free hit on him. If you do get a free hit on him, but he never used his lasso, you're gonna have to try to hit him again, or at least harass him with a line. Really, depending on the situation, if you're in full presence or before full presence, the situations is kind of very different. If you have full presence, you could just use your line to cover the area that he's in, and you can't force him, you can force him out. What I mean is you put, say your survivor is like right behind you, you put the line right in front of you where he is, you set up the line, you set off the full presence, and you immediately pick up to try to put him on the chair, or put the survivor on the chair. And then, what else? If the cowboy's particularly close to you, when you're picking them up, they'll most likely go for an instant lasso. An instant lasso, if it's performed correctly, you cannot drop in time. If it's a normal lasso, though, you should be able to drop in time if you predict that they did the instant lasso. Though, at least on higher tier level cowboys I've seen, they do not go for an instant lasso if they're medium distance away from you. But if they're super close to you, they will go for an instant lasso. What else? And say you're walking to a chair with a survivor, you don't drop immediately. You have to count 3 seconds of when you pick up the survivor, and then you gotta kind of predict when they're gonna lasso. This kind of requires experience. I've done it against other high tier cowboys, but it's because literally they've cowboy trained me to counter them. That's the only reason I've been able to do well against cowboys so far recently, is because I've been trained. That part is just experience. and then also the forward sometimes is part experience as well. But as long as you don't give up and you keep on working on it and don't get frustrated, you should be okay. Perfume? There you go.
Potentially she's getting bullshit teams.
No rice to the motion. Illegal.
Oh, really? Then tell this team that decided to have 4 kiters and no tide except me. Or how this other team that had 2 mind's eyes because someone told them don't be a rescuer.
What the fuck?
And
Or how about another team who got fucking pissed off and had they just
Yes, though, because like, it's the pressure. Like, he's gonna lasso a survivor.
Yeah.
Okay, I can just feel that too. That works.
You were too much on the side.
I know.
That's a failure. That's an edit.
I looked at him, but okay.
Oh.
Now watch as both Ford and Cowboy harass me, because why not? Then Priestess
Leave only the Priestess to decode.
Like, that's literally what's about to happen.
I know. Before we're just kind of standing there.
So, I think that pretty much covers what I have to say as maybe a violinist guide information to help you guys. If you guys do make it to the end of this video, thank you for watching. It probably must have been super long by the time I actually put everything together. Also, by the time I have this guide out, I have pretty much retired from IDV, at least on the serious side. Thank you for everyone that has supported me up to this point. I really couldn't have asked for a better supportive family, and just everyone else that I have met along the way. It has truly been a great experience, but now I must move on to the next chapter of my life, hopefully get into a military academy. Thank you for watching, and hopefully this video helps you. I hope there are more violinists in the future. It seems like he's getting really popular even into tournaments nowadays. I guess that may be it. I hope this explains any of your questions. If you guys still have questions, you can put them down below. I'll try to answer them. And have a good one, everyone.